Buenos dias. I'm Yosimar. I'm so excited to be here. I actually just flew in today from LA. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I don't know if you've been watching the news lately, but undocumented people are popping right now. Like, we're hella popping. Actually, I was just last week, I was in DC to receive an award on behalf of the Dreamers at the Hispanic Heritage Awards, which is really, really funny because I'm like, yo, I got no papers, but motherfuckers are giving me awards. So for not having papers, that's weird. I'm down. I'm gonna use this shit. Um, so yeah, right now, if you want to meet an undocumented person, want a picture with them for your profile, I'm down to do that. Um, but I wanted to do this presentation specifically because this is the kind of work that I'm doing right now with everything that's happening. If you haven't heard about what happened to DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which is a work permit, executive order that Obama signed to grant work permits to people that came here when they were young. And that was recited by the Trump administration. So basically, people that, like me, who are beneficiaries of that program will no longer have the ability to work with a work permit. So basically, we're back to being undocumented and stuff. So, but hey, we still fly. I'm still gonna be hustling. So I mean, I'm just gonna borrow somebody else's social. We actually, I wanted to this presentation that I'm going to be doing. It's titled "We Have Never Needed Papers to Thrive," and I named it that basically because I think right now, when in 2012 when they announced when they announced the deferred action for the program, I got a bunch of texts from people. I'm like, oh my god, congratulations, you can work now, and I'm like, bitch, I've been working. Like what the fuck? Like I've had a job since I was 16. Like you just So it's like, no, but I mean, you're going to be working now. But actually, I think for me, like what DACA did, it really changed, it opened up opportunities, right? Like for me, for a lot of undocumented people in jobs, I think it becomes really, you reach a glass ceiling in which you feel like you have to do jobs that you are overqualified with. And for me, like I went to college, I graduated from San Francisco State with a BA in creative writing. And as a writer, I wanted to really tell the story of undocumented people because I feel like we're the most played and nobody really understands us. And everybody thinks we're fucking tragic, right? Like every time I think people, like I'm undocumented, people are like, oh my God, that's so sad. I'm like, bitch, whatever. So that's why I titled it, We Never Needed Papers to Thrive, because I wanted to remind people that if undocumented people have been living like this forever since we arrived. I came in 1991 when I was 3 years old. I'm about to turn 29 on Friday, so I'm up there. I'm an elder now. So I wanted to remind this. And right now I work for an organization as an artist in residence called Define American. And basically what I'm doing with my organization, I'm working as a producer, creating videos and media content that really addresses kind of these issues. But I always want to uplift, I always felt like I needed to uplift the hood and uplift working class people because I feel like we don't get that representation. Every time I do interviews for magazines or newspapers, people are like, oh my God, you're undocumented. Aren't you scared? And I'm like, bitch, you're not. Look who's president, Like, they're coming after all of us, not just me. I may be the first one, but they're going to come after you too, We used to have a long time with this dude. So yes, the presentation called "We Never Needed Documents to Thrive," and the two people in the picture, that's my grandmother and that's my grandfather. My grandfather self-deported about 4 years ago, so he went back to Mexico after living here for about 25 years. And then my grandmother she's still here, and she lives in Eastside San Jose, so I always come back to the Bay Area. And so I'm always around here. And so one of the first videos that I ever produced, I wanted to really, when we talk about undocumented issues, it's always young people, it's always dreamers, it's always like college educated or people that went, people that look like me. We're like the model for immigration reform. And I was like, we don't think of elders and undocumented folks who can't retire, who are still working and who are still trying to make the best of it, but are still joyful and happy. So that's why I'm like, oh, I want to produce a video about my grandma and how she hustles because she's in her 80s, but she'll sell you anything, right? And I think people just buy things from her because she's old. You know, you buy that old lady. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna buy something from her. So she sells Mary Kay, and she recycles bottles and cans. When I was growing up, she used to sell like she used to babysit kids. She used to sell sodas out of like people sell sodas out of their apartment, like hella hood. I remember I told her like, oh my God, you're selling diabetes to our community. You're the reason we're dying. And she's like, I don't care. Like a true capitalist, you know? If she was a corporation, she would have no regulations. So we decided to make a video about her hustle, and that's the next. This is the video that we produced, and you can play it.
The biggest lesson my grandmother has taught me is to not dwell on what we did not have. Through hard work, things tend to fall into place.
Me llamo Mardonia Galeana Dionisio. Vivo en San José, California, y mi edad es 82 años. Trabajando, juntando botella, bote y todo lo que podía hacer para vivir y pagar renta. Pues como de las 10, de las 9 hasta las 4. Ya vengo y me acuesto porque ya estoy cansada. Tanto caminar. Camino mucho. Toda la gente creo me conoce aquí, hasta la policía creo me conoce. Ando para arriba y para abajo, trabajando.
Creating her own business and being her own boss was like the only way that she was gonna be able to survive. And since I was young, I've always seen her either selling things or recycling bottles and cans. You know, even though we're undocumented, we're poor, she was like, as long as you have food on the table, don't ever let anybody feel sorry for you, because that doesn't do you any good. If anything, it makes you feel like you're lesser than them. So never do that. So I remember my grandma, we would take these cards and the people would watch us, and she would just like, keep looking forward.
Porque uno en un caso ofrecido, se te ofrece algo, no tienes dinero, andas buscando tener su ahorro.
You know, she's 80 something, like she doesn't have the luxury of waiting for immigration reform. So at this point, it's just realizing that she's never gonna be American or she's never gonna have those documents.
Oh, pues me siento alegre de que estoy vendiendo. Soy una luchadora y no me rindo. Así me den papeles o no me den, yo voy a seguir trabajando.
So that's my grandma. She's super cute. Like when I called her when they announced that. You can go to the third slide. I called her when Trump made that announcement. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my work permit. And you know, she's like one of those godly people. She's like, well, you know, God is testing. I was like, no, fuck God right now. And then she was like, don't worry. Even if they take your work permit away, you can come sell Mary Kay with me because they don't ask you for work permits at Mary Kay. I'm like, shit, that's true. So I have a bunch of catalogs in my bag. If you're trying to buy lip gloss, I got you. So like I said, I came to this country when I was 3 years old. Like my grandma actually brought me, and I don't remember crossing the border. I just know that I don't like hiking for some reason, and I feel it has to do with the genetic trauma of being 3 years old and crossing the border. But I still write that in my scholarship applications just so I can get more funding. I'm like, yes, I crossed the border barefooted and hungry, and give me $5,000 for college. And so I came here when I was 3, and I grew up in the hood. I grew up in East Side San Jose, which I always represent because, you know, a lot of people think that you grow up in Silicon Valley and then somehow Google gives you fucking free internet when Google don't give you shit, or that's why you go steal it at Starbucks. And so I grew up in East Side San Jose in apartment complexes. So everything was apartment complexes. And we were like when we arrived, we were the first Mexicans. It was black folks and Samoan folks. And so we grew up in this apartment complexes, but eventually more people started moving in, and most of the people that I knew growing up were undocumented. Everybody I knew was undocumented. So when people are like, when did you come out of the shadows when you tell people you were undocumented. I was like, well, you know, I had those kind of parents that don't shun you away from like the truth. Like, you know, when I asked my mom, like, oh, when is Santa Claus coming? She's like, he doesn't exist, like your father. So I had those kind of parents, you know, that just keep it 100. And maybe that's why I'm like this, you know. Maybe that's why I don't have a heart. That's why I'm money motivated. But when I was growing up in the hood, one of the things that happened a lot is that I started really understanding that, you know, I was more feminine than the other boys, that I was more queer and stuff. And when you're queer in this kind of environment, hypermasculinity is a huge thing, right? Like people want to call you out and whatnot. And so, like, I think that's what made me kind of realize that I was navigating this kind of complex world. So these are like, this picture is when I was in 3rd grade, and the other one was like when I was 5. And I use those pictures because I tell people, like, this is what happens when you dress your children in hypermasculine clothes. They become hella gay. And so my poor mother. But I say this also because the people that started organizing within the immigrant rights movement were actually undocumented queer people. And I think a lot of people forget that those are the people making civil disobediences and taking action. And that's what granted us DACA and the benefits that we had up till now. Immigration became a topic in 2006. I was in high school when I skipped school to go to the Great American Boycott. We had, San Jose was huge. Every May 1st, I think they still do them in Oakland and San Francisco. It's a huge thing, International Workers' Day. But everybody came out to advocate for comprehensive immigration reform. So since then, it's to 2017 and now. So since then, we've been advocating for something. But sadly now, with Trump getting elected, we're like back to the beginning. All the work that's been done is kind of like back to the beginning. And right now in the national conversation, words that you're going to hear a lot are the main one right now, it's dreamer. Like, what is a dreamer? You hear good immigrant. You'll hear like the debate between high-skilled worker and low-skilled worker. A high-skilled worker is considered an immigrant that comes to this country that works in tech, has degrees, is doing all that. A low-skilled worker is considered someone that's doing jobs that are, you know, allegedly nobody wants, which I think is really disrespectful. So folks that, you know, working as custodians, who are working as farm workers, folks that are doing service jobs, which I think it's an insult to people that do these jobs and do it with a certain level of dignity. So that's why when I hear people say like, oh, we're doing the jobs nobody wants, I'm like, we need to acknowledge that our people do whatever job you give us, we're willing to do it with a sense of dignity and pride. And who is to say that the farm worker doesn't take pride in growing crops? And as a matter of fact, like, I am considered a high-skilled worker, but all I do is fucking rant on Facebook and answer emails. Like, I could not grow a fucking pomegranate, for God's sake. So, you know, when Trump kills this country, y'all motherfuckers are gonna want to be friends with farm workers. Just saying. And then the other one that we're seeing right now is criminal, which is really interesting because criminal can be, you know, everybody likes a little blunt here and there. So a criminal can be someone that smokes weed, right? I should put that on camera. A criminal can be like anything. Anything can be deemed criminal. And a lot of times for undocumented people who are not, you know, California is one of the states that grants licenses for undocumented people. Not all states do that. So meaning that we're not allowed to drive. So one of the things that we're doing, that we're advocating for driver's licenses, because most people that are getting deported are because of traffic violations. The other one is documented, which is like DACA, which is a work permit, but it's not a legal status. Undocumented, basically, you don't have no legal protection. The one that Fox News loves is illegal, right? But, you know, I mean, whatever. And then illegal immigrant, law breaking, and job stealing. I just posted around today, like, really, you think I'm stealing your job? Like, my first job was working in the assembly line in Fremont, getting paid $10 an hour with the supervisor screaming at me, and I couldn't quit because I had to keep that fucking job. I want to go back and be like, look, bitch, what I've done. And the three lenses that I think right now in the national conversation, three lenses that you would see about undocumented storytelling are: one, academic excellence. You're always going to see the story of the 4.0 student that got into Yale and Harvard and Columbia, and that's dope, because props to you, because getting a 4.0 while being in a hood-ass school and getting into Yale, I think should be celebrated. But when you're only promoting those kind of narratives, you're telling us that the people who are average students, who are navigating a complex system, and who are not getting into those schools, who are going to community college, then what are you saying about them, that they're not worthy of being praised and uplifted, right? The other one, story that you're going to see is economic contributions. You're going to see a bunch of stories about undocumented people pay so much in taxes. We create so many jobs. Our revenue is so and so and so. But at the same time, it's like if you're advocating for us to become part of this country just because of our economic labor, then I think there's something to say about that. And the other one is labor, which I hate. Like everyone's like, oh my God, like if we kick out undocumented people, no one's gonna wait your table, no one's gonna clean your hotel room, and I'll be goddamn if I came to this country and put up with all this abuse just so I can wait your table. You know, like you can do that yourself. And some of you motherfuckers don't tip, so why do that? The work that we're doing with Define American is really asking the question, how do you define American and what makes you an American? Let me wait for this next slide to pop up. So in 2012 was like the year of the undocumented folks. We were hella popping, and we even landed on the cover of Time magazine, right? That's my boss, Jose Antonio Vargas, who I work for. And one of the things that I started noticing specifically because of me, because I feel like when I talk about being undocumented, I try to make it funny because I feel like it's kind of funny. I don't know, somehow I end up making fun of it because I think people play us all the time. But one of the things I was like, why do these people look so somber? They all so sad and shit, you know? So I was like, you know what? And that's why I started this campaign called UndocuJoy. How do we capture the joy of undocumented people and how funny, how in spite of everything, we still wake up and we participate and we're still funny because people can get deported, but someone's still organizing a quinceañera for Saturday. So I really wanted to capture those moments because I feel like it's very much needed, and I think that's one of the things we can't let is this country rob you of your joy. So I was like, I want to do something different. We got asked by Los Angeles Magazine about like a year ago. They wanted to do their whole edition on immigration, and they wanted us to curate something similar. And so for me, it was like, I want to take charge of it, and I want to make sure that it's different and that it's happy. We reached a new moment where I think we need to keep into consideration the mental health of undocumented people and what it does to witness and to watch videos on deportation and of ICE raids and all that on the news constantly and what fear does to people, right? And so Los Angeles Magazine hit us up. Los Angeles hit us up and they want to do a special issue on immigration. And so I was in charge of curating it, and I was like, I want to get it popping. I want it to be happy. So I ended up curating a photo shoot with a bunch of undocumented people that I know. Can you go to the next slide? I don't know, this thing's not working. Great. So a bunch of folks that I knew, and I wanted them to make them all happy and make it more lighter. Right here we have Sophie Cruz, which is a beautiful young girl that is known nationally because she gave a letter to the Pope asking them to advocate for her parents who are also undocumented. We have Giovanni, who's a school teacher and also a recipient of DACA. We're asking now that he's going to lose his work permit, what's going to happen to his students, right? How he's going to explain that to his students. We have Danae, who's from Belize and who's working with the Undocu-Black Network to do that representation. We have Ju Hong, who right now is based out of Sacramento doing work to advance immigrant rights. We have Justino Mora and Ivan Ceja, who are part of Undocu Media, which if you don't follow them on Instagram, they're one of the biggest media outlets that gets information to undocumented audiences. And all the way in the corner, we have Greta, who's an undocumented trans woman that was in detention for 3 years and was just recently released. And we have Ileana, who is an undocumented European woman, and we have another one, which is the city commissioner in LA, which he got a lot of heat for being undocumented and being appointed to to his services. So we decided to curate in a way to show that undocumented people are in different fields and look different and are just as diverse as this country, and we partake in a lot of them. Most likely you know an undocumented person. If you don't know they're undocumented, it's because they haven't rebuilt their status. There's 11 million undocumented people in this country, and that's just the ones we've counted. There's probably more who haven't really come out. So I'll wrap up this end of the presentation. Again, if you want to Google defineamerican.com, you can find most of these stories there. We have a lot of educational tools, resources. We're always doing campaigns, and we're always producing videos. And then I'm going to read some of my work right now for the one-man show that I'm working on. And most of my stuff, you can find it at yosimar.com. You'll find all these videos and then more of the stories and the writing that I'm doing to develop this show. So this was just like the theoretical stuff. Now we can get into the artsy shit, because that's why you brought me here. I was like, oh my God, all this political talk. Okay, well, let's shift perspectives. So again, I'm a storyteller, I'm a writer. I grew up in the Bay Area. I actually started performing when I was 16 through an organization called Youth Speaks, which is based out of San Francisco. And I started performing there, and I was competing, and I'm competing at big auditoriums representing, and now I'm doing this kind of, I'm being an artist full time, so traveling a lot and showing some of my work and my stories that I've developed with other folks. And so right now I'm developing a one-man show about growing up queer and undocumented in the hood, and it's called Prieto. And this show is basically, it's written from the perspective of an 8-year-old who lives in Eastside San Jose, and who is growing up with his grandmother and his alcoholic grandfather. So I'm writing this right now. We're still editing it and finishing some stuff, but I'm gonna read a couple of the short stories that they came from there, because I feel like they're kind of funny. I don't know if you mind, because you're up there and you have my laptop, if I can have it. Sorry, technical difficulties. It's because I have more shit in there, so. But yeah, so like I tell you, when I tell people I'm undocumented, it's very like, oh my God, that's so sad. Or like, oh my God, that's so, like I was at the Hispanic Heritage Awards, and this woman wouldn't let me go in my seat because I didn't have my ticket, right? Because I don't carry documentation. She wouldn't have my seat, and I was like, yo, I'm like getting an award, like, and she's like, who are you? Because the people that were there were like Dolores Huerta. I got to meet Gael Garcia Bernal, which is like the Mexican like Brad Pitt, I argue, and then Luis Fonsi, the guy that sings Despacito. They were there, right? And they were like taking pictures with us because we were the Dreamers. And so I told this woman like, yo, I need to go back there. I need to get my award, and she wouldn't let me. She was so rude. And I was like, I'm one of the Dreamers, and you should have seen her face. It like hella lit up. She was like, oh my God, oh my, and then she escorted me to my seat. I was like, if only this country did that, like, dude, I would use that shit all the time. But they don't care. No, I'm good. I'm just gonna read some of these short stories that I wrote. So I'm going to read this short story that I wrote. The beginning one, so I told you, like, I write a lot about immigrants and undocumented people, but I tried to make it funny because I feel like when I was growing up, I had a lot of fun, even though I was frustrated a lot. But when you grow up in certain communities, you know how to, like, make fun of it. One of the things when I was growing up, we loved the Goodwill, like the thrift store, like, everybody loves the Goodwill. I don't like it no more because, we spent hours in there, and and my mom was like super bougie, right? She would like buy like it would say like the whole brand. So when people ask you, where'd you get that? You're like, Old Navy, Gap, Guess. Like she knew, she studied the things. But we got it like for $3 at the thrift store. Or at Savers, but they put a Goodwill truck in Eastside San Jose in front of our apartment complexes. I think because the idea was that all the poor people living in the apartments would go shop at the Goodwill. But I had a neighbor who later I learned to call her sustainable because she was cheap. Was that she didn't like buying stuff. Like her character, the way I described her is like you would go to her house to ask her for ketchup, and she would open a drawer and she had ketchup from Carl's Jr., Burger King, McDonald's. She had it all. She stole the straws, she stole the napkins, she stole the toilet paper, those big rolls at the side. She would just play. Her house was just like a fucking sustainable house. I was like, damn. And then later I learned that, when you live 3 families to a house, it's called a co-op and it's kind of cool and shit. I was like, that was annoying. I moved to the Bay Area and then I started learning all these like terms and stuff. I lived in a house with a bunch of activists that didn't want me to clean with Clorox. They wanted me to clean with vinegar. And I was like, yo, my mom would kick my ass if she saw this bathroom. And my mom was, you have the type of mom that cleans with Clorox. Like, they're making like a bomb and you're choking and crying, but it's not clean unless the tears are burning your eyes. So that's how I learned to clean. So if you come to my house and are sensitive to chemicals, you probably shouldn't go in. But I wrote this story because she was like, yo, they have a Goodwill truck and people are just leaving donations, but at night, people just leave bags outside, and we should just go through the bags. And if you know something, San Jose is known for the fucking flea market. Like, people go, nobody wants to go to San Jose. No, it's like, oh, it's so far. But people go for the flea market. That's the only reason people go to it. And so she was like, yo, if we go and we just go sort through the bags at night, we can just take all the good shit and just sell it at the flea market, and we make money. I was like, that's so smart. And then we were kids, so she's like, I got 9 of y'all, like, we can all sort through this stuff. So she had her little, her little cartel of little thieves. So I ended up writing this story called The Goodwill Truck. There's a Goodwill truck down the street. Norberta tells us that at night people just leave bags of clothes outside to donate. There's no security, she says. She schemes this plan to gather all the neighborhood kids and walks us to the truck so we can help her find cute shit she could potentially sell. Our payoff is that we get to find old toys and we get to be bad. Abuela decides that she wants to join in on the fun. So as soon as it hits 9 o'clock, we all meet at the courtyard. She tells us the game plan. Okay, pay attention. We're going to walk down the street and you're going to search through the bags. Only take the things you need. Do not be greedy. We walk down the street, adrenaline pumping because we're about to come up on some free bomb shit. Once we get to the truck, it's like a gold mine. We can't believe people would donate all these things. There are all kinds of clothes, books, toys. We want to take it all, but we have to be smart. I asked my abuela, isn't this stealing? Well, no, because people donate these things for people like us. I continue searching through the plastic bags. All the kids go for the toys, but I like books and pick up a couple I can read when my abuela leaves me home alone. I turn around and I see Norberta carrying a giant teddy bear. It's like those bears are hella hard to win at the carnival. All the kids are mad because she calls dibs on the bear and decides she actually wants to take it home to decorate her living room. In defeat, we all turn back carrying the things we picked up from the old truck. We have clothes, toys, shoes, books. As we're walking back, we hear a siren bleep. La policía. We scream and we make a run for it. We run like roaches when you turn the lights on, hiding behind cars, jumping into bushes, running past the street. Even my abuela runs. We turn back and we see Norberta's big body running, carrying the big teddy bear. She won't let go of it, but it slows her down. Before we know it, the cop car has a bright light shining on her. On the megaphone, the cop says, "Ma'am, please put the bear down." Norberta doesn't really speak English, but she knows she's in trouble. She slowly places the big teddy bear on the cement, and as the cop walks towards her, she tells him, "Ay, es que no sé inglés. I thought it was free." The cop leaves her with a warning, and we all watch Norberta as she walks back towards us, her face in defeat, but in a determined immigrant spirit, she tells us, "Mañana vamos a ir a encontrar otra troca." So that's Norberta. She's cute, and that's her real name. I need to change it because she's gonna sue me. But I wish I could just bring her. I mean, like, this is her. She's hella legit. Like, she can hook you up with all kinds of toilet paper from the restaurants if you want some. So I grew up with these characters, right? And my grandma's a character in herself too. One of the stories she tells me, and I want to write it because I think it should be like a kid's book. It's about a chicken. And so, grew up in the hood, and my abuela's always been like nostalgic about returning. If you have immigrant parents, they're always nostalgic about going back to whatever. And I grew up American, so I'm like, I'm not going back there. And I actually went back to Mexico in December because through the program, I was able to apply to an educational program that sent me back. So last December, I went for a whole month back to Mexico, and that was like after 26 years. I came when I was 3, so like after a decade, right? I returned, and I'm a poet, so I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be so like poetic to return home, you know, like I'm from Guerrero, so we're like really beachy Caribbean people, like, cause there's, you know, Acapulco and whatnot. I was like, it's gonna be so cool. Like, I'm gonna be at the beach, and then like the waves are gonna embrace me, and the sun is gonna open up, and then the wind's gonna whisper, "Welcome home," you know. And then, you know, I'm hella gay, so I planned all these outfits that I wanted to wear, you know. And I'm hella hood, so I brought hella Jordans. So I was like, you know, I had all these looks ready, you know, serve you like some, you know, beachy Caribbean undocumented looks. And then I got there. It's fucking hot. It was so hot. There's all kinds of mosquitoes. People don't even know. Well, people know what Jordans are. That's why they want to cut your feet for them, so they can't wear this out. It's so hot. There's no AC inside the houses. People just, you know. And then I was like at my aunt's house, like, why is there no hot water? It's like, bitch, you're in Mexico, you know. I was so like, oh shit. And you know, this time I've been calling out, like, I'm Mexican. I'm proud of being Mexican. I love Mexico. And I went back, I was like, yo, I'm ready to go home. I mean, I grew up in a hood where there was no hot water sometimes, but not like all the time. So I was like, oh no, I don't think I can make it here. And nobody knows how to appreciate these outfits. So I ended up just wearing basketball shorts and a tank top all the whole month while I was there. That's why you won't see pictures of it on my Instagram. But it was beautiful in a way that I got to see what my grandma longs for, right? And one of the stories my grandma tells me was like, we were like, we live in East Side San Jose in a 2-bedroom apartment, right? And she's all like, the story about the chicken goes that she's all like, you know, the foods don't taste the same here, and that's true. She's like, there's so much chemicals and so much the hormones that go into the into poultry and all the meats. And she's like, I want to cook a fresh caldo de pollo. So I want you to go on Google and search where I can find a live chicken. And I was like, yo, I think that's a crime. Like, I don't think you can just kill a chicken in your house. Like, I think you can go to jail for that, you know? But there I am on Google, farms in San Jose with chickens for sale. And we ended up finding one. Someone had a farm, like, up in the hills in San Jose. And then she called my aunt. My aunt's all like, I want one too. So we took a family road trip to this chicken farm, and she picked 2 chickens, a white one and a brown one. And we got the brown one, and she took it to the apartment, and there we have a legit like chicken alive running around, you know, like a cat. And she's all like, oh, it's too skinny. I'm gonna keep it and I'm gonna fatten it up. So you know, like those little carts people go to the flea market with to put the groceries in. So she made that into a cage, a chicken cage. And so she kept this chicken for 3 months, like a chicken in a 2-bedroom apartment, just, you know, running around, and she would put it to sleep in the cage. I'm like, oh my God, this lady is so, I can't even tell her anything because she's my grandma. So I was like, I don't think you can kill it because, you know, I think it's a crime and you're going to go to jail. And she's all like, well, she's like, whatever, don't worry about it. And so she ends up being like, I asked her a couple months later, I asked her like, yo, whatever happened to that chicken? And she's like, oh, let me tell you the story about the chicken. So basically, she said, like, I was about to kill it because, you know, you got to twist the neck and then you got to, like, spin it or something. You can watch a YouTube video about this. And then you got to boil it and then take off the feathers and you got to, like, dismember it, all this kind of Mexican stuff. And so she was like, I was about to kill it, but I don't know what this country has done to me. I was like, why? It's like, because I didn't have the heart to kill it. Like, people respect animals here. I was like, okay. And so I was like, so what did you do with it? And she was like, well, I took it to your aunt's house because, you know, she don't give a fuck. And we don't drive. We take the bus everywhere, right? So I'm like, my aunt lives far. It's like 2 buses. So I was like, how did you get the chicken to my aunt's house? Like, did she pick it up? And she's like, no, well, I watched in the bus, sometimes people put their dogs in their purse. People put their dogs in their purse, and they're allowed to go in because, you know, they're small and they don't bug anybody. So I put the chicken in my purse. And I was like, you legit waited for the 25 with a chicken inside your purse, a live chicken inside your purse. And it's like, yeah. I was like, what did the driver tell you? He's like, nothing. He's like, come on in. I was like, you know, old people get away with random things because they're old. I'm like, oh my, had that been me, they're like, what are you going to do with that chicken? So he took the chicken to my aunt's house. My aunt was going to kill it. But then my little niece started crying because she's all like I'm sure she's gonna grow to be a vegan because she was like animals are friends are not food. So then she's all like then we took the chicken to my neighbor's house because she has a yard and the chicken can run and she's gonna kill it and then gonna invite us for dinner. So the neighbor ended up getting the chicken. She ended up falling in love with it. They like a rooster and whatever, and I don't know how eggs are made or whatever. And so it ended up hatching little chicks. So now this chicken is somewhere in Eastside San Jose living its best American life. And I took that trip for no fucking reason. And I was like, that is such an undocumented story. Like, we are the chickens that end up thriving in the midst of all these people trying to kill us. So I'm like, oh, what a beautiful metaphor for our lives. And this is actually a true story. I want to go find out where this chicken's at so I can take pictures of it and put it in a presentation. My grandmother thinks she does. I'm going to read this next story. It's called Roach. And then I can open up for questions if you have some questions. If not, I'll keep going. So I wrote this story, Roach, because when I was in 3rd grade, it's kind of gruesome. I read it at high school once, and all the kids were cringing because they were like, oh, that's so fucking gross. But I'm like, you guys watch World Star videos of people fighting. That's more gross, right? Violence is more gross. So when I was in 3rd grade, I had a roach stuck in my ear. So it was fucking nasty. So I ended up writing this story about going to the doctor because I feel like that's one of the narratives we don't hear about undocumented people in doctors. Roach. Tell your mom you have a roach in your ear. The doctor orders me as mommy sits patiently observing how he shines the light inside my head. Dice que tengo una cucaracha en la oreja. Mommy looks embarrassed. I don't know why. Is there a reason why this might have happened, he asks. I think about how our apartment is infested with roaches. At night they come out and take over our kitchen, but we don't complain to the old Filipina landlord whose English is just as broken as my mother's because she might call the cops on us, my abuela says. Dice el señor porque por qué me pasó esto, I translate. She doesn't respond. It's like she forgot how to stand Spanish too. I can hear the buzz inside my head as the roach is trying to dig deeper in an attempt to hide from the light. It has made a home in my head for a week now, but I never told mommy because she's too busy working to be bothered with these things. At first, I thought it was water from playing in the shower so much, so I spent the day walking with my head tilted, thinking that over time, like a messed up water faucet, drop by drop, my ear would go back to normal. It was the school nurse, a gentle white lady with the hair the color of a carrot, that told mommy she needed to take me to the ER. That night, after mommy came home from work, we took bus 25 across town to catch bus 70 to the nearest hospital. A cotton ball pressed against my ear as an attempt to diminish the pain. Mommy lump-sided, bobbing her head, trying to fight our sleep. I stood alert and watched as the only people left on the ride were homeless men and 1 or 2 señoras heading home after a late shift. We're going to have to pull it out, says the doctor as he reaches for metal tweezers. He presses the metal against my ear, and I can feel how the points of the tweezer push through my auditory canal. I focus on mommy instead of the pain. She smiles, but not from amusement, but as an apology. It's the same smile she gives when she can't make it to my school performances or when she can't buy me a new uniform. Her arms are folded across her chest. She attentively watches as the doctor maneuvers his way into my ear. He is a teacher, and it's like she wants to learn how to pull roaches from ears in the event that this might repeat again. Ouch, I whine. The doctor pulls the metal tweezers, and I can see the roach's little leg. It looks like we're going to have to take it out in pieces, the doctor mutters. He wipes the tweezers clean and goes back in again. Like a gold miner, he scratches through the cave of my ear, trying to find the remains of the roach. In school, we learn how to spell archaeologist, a long, complicated name for someone that likes to dig dirt for bones. One by one, he begins to pull out leg after finally getting the whole thing out. He places the remains on a blue paper towel. I look at the body spread across the napkin, dismembered. The pieces of the body remind me of Lucy, the oldest bone fossils dug up by archaeologists. It looks like it was a baby roach. That's why they got in there. Poor baby. I wonder if his mommy's going to miss him, I think to myself. Tell your mom she might want to start fumigating or cleaning the house thoroughly so this doesn't happen again. But mommy does fumigate. She mops the floor with so much Clorox you have to open the doors and windows to air it out. She even gets advice to the other señoras on what are the best solutions to kill off the roaches. Sometimes it's hard to tell if she's trying to kill us with the roaches too. Dice el señor que estoy bien, ya nos podemos ir. Her apologetic smile and turns into relief. She picks me up from the exam table and lets my feet scratch the linoleum floor. Thank you very mucho, mister, Mommy says in the only English word she learned from the factory. We leave the fluorescent lights of the hospital. I turn back and watch the sick patients wait in a crowded room for their names to be called. I wonder if they too have roaches in their ear. We walk down the street where the night sky has taken over. 45 minutes pass and the bus finally comes. We ride the bus all to ourselves. I press my body against Mommy because the AC is on too high. We go home. As sleep is taking over, I can see when Mommy puts a cotton ball in each and one of my ears. The next day, she wakes up at 5 in the morning and she goes to work. So that's my mom. I'll open up for if you have questions, comments, concerns. I don't want to be like, I've already been talking like hella. Let me look up this other one. They're like, oh, awkward. The roach one? Yeah, these are all kind of based on reality. Actually, when I was in my creative writing class at San Francisco State, one of my first classes, you know, one of the things with people of color is we don't really take like English classes because, you know, English is colonial and stuff. And it's so oppressive because, you know, they're like, oh, you shouldn't write like that. And I would submit these stories and people are like, oh my God, your characters are so colorful. I'm like, bitch, they're not piñatas. And yeah, people would ask me like, how do you come up with them? I'm like, they're my neighbors. Like, I don't even have to use creativity. Like, legit, I'm just remembering stuff that they've done. Like, it's, so one of the things I like about being undocumented and poor and growing up in these kind of conditions is that I don't have to travel to find a story. Like, I just have to like go to therapy, and I got a bunch. So I got a whole anthology. So that, I guess that's a benefit. If you want to be a storyteller, grow up poor and undocumented and disenfranchised, and you'll have all kinds of shit to write about, and nobody will be like, oh my God, that's not creative. So that's the benefit. This next story that I'll read, it's part of the show, and it's about the first time I ever got in a fight, because when I was growing up, you know, people are like, oh, you're a faggot. Like, that's the first thing, like, kids call you. And you're, like, you're in 3rd grade. You're 8 years old. You don't know, like, what that means. But, you know, I was like, oh. And you know, I had my grandma was always, like, she was always scared of everything because we were, like, immigrants. So she was always like, don't cause attention. Don't fight. Don't, you know, if people pick on you, don't say anything. Just walk away. You don't want any problems or whatever. But then I was in the hood, and I was hanging out with all the ratchet girls. And all the ratchet girls, you know, they were mean. Like, girls are hella mean. I don't mean to be sexist, but girls are fucked up. They'll torment you and shit. You remember middle school is the worst. Like, oh my God, look at her. That's why I kind of have those defense mechanisms. So online, when people comment like, oh, I'm so happy you're going to get deported. Like, I have, like, people legit writing shit like that to me. And now my boss told me I shouldn't clap back because, you know, I'm going to end up on Breitbart, and they're going to put my address out, and bitch is going to send me anthrax. So I shouldn't do that. So be careful on social media. So this lady, you know, I published that video with my grandma, and I love my grandma. I'll do anything for my grandma. I'll get deported for her. I don't care, you know. This lady's like, I'm going to be so happy when you and your grandma get deported. And I was like, you fucking evil lady. So, you know, I'm in the hood. So you go to people's profiles, and what do? You look through their pictures. You analyze their attitude. You look at their outfits. You look at their face, something you can make fun of. So I replied back, you should be so happy I don't know where you're from, because trust me, I'm going to move to your hood. I'm going to steal your fucking job, and I'm going to steal your man. And I'm going to kill all those fucking bunnies you have on your profile picture. See, I clap back like stuff like that. I had this other lady write like, it's your fault, you're the illegal, that's why it's your fault. Like, take ownership, it's your fault. You cross illegally, it's your fault. And I just replied, your face is your fault. And then she replied, your fugly face. I was like, oh my God, this is stupid. But this is the first time we got in a fight. And this is about Ceci. And I think it happens to every hood-ass girl, right? Like, They're like super hood, but then they meet the man of their lives, and then they have babies, and then they find God, and then their profile pictures become pictures of their babies, and their background is God. Those are all my cousins. They're all like, oh my God, I'm not like that no more. I'm not fighting bitches in the street no more. I found God and I love my kids. Or like the first tattoo they get are like footprints of their babies. I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's. Feel like I know someone like that. So this is the story is called Slick Tongue. Is what I'm trying to fight. Tony has always been my hater. He's an only child, and his mother's the type that believes her son could do no harm. It doesn't help that his cousins are neighborhood cholos because he always feels he has backup. Me, on the other hand, I am the Wimpy Kid. My best friend is an 8th grade chola named Ceci who always talks to me about boys and smoking weed. Mind you, I'm in 5th grade. Ceci sees how Tony picks on me and makes fun of the fact that I'm more feminine than the other boys on my block. She tells me, you need to stick up for yourself, Yosi, because that's how bitches jump on you. My abuelita, on the other hand, believes that the best way to avoid a problem is to simply stay inside the house. Pues a mí será que aquí adentro de mi casa no viene a molestarme nadie. The good thing about Tony is that he's slow. Says he teaches me how to sharpen my tongue and use my words like daggers, so every time Tony calls me a pinche joto in public, they're just the right words to make him look stupid among all his homies. For some reason, Tony always has it in for me. We could be playing anything and he rolls out of his way to call me a faggot. It gets to the point that I start taking my abuela's advice and start staying inside the house more often. I tell Ceci, I'm not going out anymore. I'd rather avoid problems with him, Ceci. He's so stupid anyways. I'm going to call him right now. I'm going to call him right now, and you're going to kick his ass. No, Ceci, I don't know how to fight. It's not that hard, fool. All you got to do is close your eyes and think about all the bad shit people have done to you. Think about it till you feel anger burning in your stomach, and then just sock the shit out of the person you're hitting. And if they hit you hella hard, then just get up and don't cry. Because when you cry, you're going to be the weak bitch. Even if you lose, people will respect you because you fought for that respect, duh. I don't know, Ceci. What if he calls his cousins on me? Fuck that shit. I got cousins too. We can make this a rumble if you want. Okay, I'll be right back. Stay here and focus on being angry. So here I am, about to get in my first fight being coached by a chola. Ceci runs to the middle of the apartment complex and shouts, hey, Tony, come out right now. Yosi's going to kick your ass, fucker. Oh, shit. I'm going to die right now. Tony comes out ready for a fight. What the fuck you want, little fag? Before he could call me a fag again, I sock him in the mouth. He falls to the floor, and I start hitting and hitting and hitting. I hit until he begins to cry. By the time I'm done, the entire neighborhood of kids have gathered to witness the fight of the century. They can't believe that the little feminine boy just kicked the bully's ass. Tony runs inside his house, and I can see the pride in Ceci's face. That's my bitch, she screams. After the fight, I run home and I cry. I tell my abuela about the fight, but instead of getting mad, she tells me, las cosas se arreglan con las palabras, pero si los animales no entienden palabras, a chingadazos se acostumbran. After the fight, Tony never really bothered me again. In fact, we kind of became friends. He started coming over to my house so I can help him out with his homework. Y la Ceci, well, she got kicked out of school for fighting, but she never really gave a fuck about school, so she would spend her days just sitting in her front door, just waiting for trouble. That's Ceci. She's cute. She just added me on Facebook. She's so cute. With her little babies and God in her background. So these characters, I really like to create them because I feel like they exist in every hood. Like everybody has that one cousin, that one aunt, that one uncle, that one grandma that wants fresh caldo de pollo, and put you through these adversities to do all these things. So I'll close up with this short story, and then if we have any questions, I will be so more than happy to answer whatever you want. So the first story that I submitted, like I told you, I grew up with my grandma, and we grew up recycling bottles and cans. And this is a little bit more, I'm trying to do more comedy stuff because I feel like people need to laugh, and I want people to have a good time. But at the same time, I'm reminded, like, life is hard, right? We all have a different background, and we all have similar experiences because it's hard. It's not easy. And I remember when I was in college, it was fucking hard because I had to work 3 jobs and I was going to school full time, and then I was like in these classes that sometimes I didn't want to be in because, you know, I was an English major, so I was like, oh, I really do not want to be reading Virginia Woolf right now. Like, I want to be paying my bills and going to sleep. And I was like one of those students that, you know, I saw a lot of students that wanted like A's. I was fine with a B. As long as I was on Thursdays at the club and still wake up at 8 in the morning to make it to class and read my notes like 30 minutes before. And I was that student that would like bullshit all the time, like such as, and, you know, use like, you know, those transitional phrases to sound smart. But I would do the readings. They were just, you know, cliff notes, but I understood the subject. So this is one of the first story that I ever submitted. It was called Summer because I had a professor in my English class who was like, I want you to write a story about summer. And I was like, oh, what the fuck about summer? You know, like fucking undocumented. Like, why have to fucking work in the summer? Like, it's not like, you know, everybody was writing about like, I rode my horse for the summer. Like, bitch, I've never ridden a horse. And I'm Mexican, you know? And I'm Mexican. So I submitted this story, and everybody was like, oh my God. You know, like when everybody's having a good time talking about their summer, and there's that one person that's just a buzzkill, like, oh shit. And I like to do that because it makes me feel good. Like, damn, yeah, bitches, yeah. Especially when people are like, you know, people are like, what did you do this summer? Oh my God, I went abroad. Oh my God, I went to Cabo. I went to Cancun. And then they turn to me like, what did you do this summer? Bitch, I don't have papers. And they're like, oh, my bad. I'm like, yeah, here's my Venmo me because I need therapy. And then I just buy a bottle of Henny. So I'll end with this summer. Abuela wakes me up at 8. It is Saturday morning, and though most kids are up at this hour watching cartoons, Abuela already has breakfast served for me. The sun is already blazing and slowly taking over the streets of Eastside San Jose. After we are done drinking our café con bolillo, we head out the door, and I follow Abue as she picks up a shopping cart to be our helper for the day. We begin walking down the street. She pulls the shopping cart from the front as I lean my arms pushing to the back. The wind blows her long white hair, and imagine she's a river, a powerful body of water that carried me here. She looks back at me, and on her wrinkled face there's a sweet smile. I smile back, and though I begin to get frustrated, the sun is beating against my skin, I say nothing because she has always told me to be grateful for the light of day. We stop at a big greenhouse. The grass is neatly trimmed, and the windows are crystal clear. Awe makes her way to the back of the house, and I take a break and sit under a bush for shade. She comes back, carrying a trash can filled with bottles, her small body bending as she struggles to pour them into her cart. I run to help her, but she tells me to stay put, that I am too small and might get hurt. I watch her as we go from house to house, repeating this routine, the sun increasing in its intensity. The houses on this block are beautifully painted, surrounded by rose bushes and a silence that takes over the street. I imagine what it must be like to live in a place where there's no noise, where everything rests in its proper place. I begin to dream of the day in which I'll be old enough to buy a house. I want a big room for my abuelitos, a room for my brother, and one for me. As we continue walking, I see kids playing in their front yards. They pass the ball around, and as soon as they take a look at me, they stop and stare. Their eyes look at me like I'm something strange. By this point, our cart is filled with so many bottles that the rattling takes over the street. Awe pulls the cart with force. For some reason, I freeze. A slow fire begins to burn in the pit of my belly, and the blazing sun helps it turn into rage. Out of nowhere, I get mad. I want to stop pushing this stupid cart and run home. My mind begins to fill up with all these questions I know are impolite to ask. Awe turns back and sees me standing there. She shouts, "Gordo, apúrate." I look at her, and she can see the anger in my eyes. She knows this rage. She knows this fire. She starts pushing the shopping cart and walks towards me. ¿Qué tienes, mijo? I ask her, why don't you have a real job? Why do we always have to come and look through people's trash cans? Why can't we have a house? She wipes the sweat from her brow, rests her hand on her waist, and looks down at me. Pues mira, mijo, we're not in Mexico anymore. Las cosas son diferentes aquí. I'm too old to understand a lot of things, pero yo sé que no siempre vamos a tener que trabajar así. I look back at her dark skin shining against the sun. I want to be a big tree and have my shadow protect her from these feelings of shame. Tears begin to well up in my eyes, and I become mad at myself for being mad at her. She grabs my hand. Ándale, ya vámonos. Cuando vendamos esas botellas, te voy a comprar algo. We walk back toward the cart and begin to push again. Our rattling presence echoes through the silent neighborhood. So these are some of the stories. Like I said, you can find most of it on my website, yosimarreyes.com. And I'm going to be doing more work. And if you know any like undocumented folks that need support, I'm always open, and my inbox is always open to connect them with resources and other stuff that we're working on. I think right now we're living in a time where people feel really targeted, and it's scary. It is scary. And I think for me, I make peace with it through making fun of the situation, but at the same time, I know that I have a huge network of people that support me and uplifting, you know, like I'm traveling with these stories and an undocumented person and sharing them throughout the country. So I'm always eager and willing to connect with undocumented people that might not have the same access that I have to share that. So if you know anybody, feel free to share my contact, yosimarreyes.com. Like, yo, I get this dude's kind of funny, check out this video, whatever. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
What's the government of Mexico doing in relation with these? And if NAFTA is even considering these, they've never considered immigration as part of NAFTA in the 1994, and that was a big critique. But now that they're talking again, is there anything that are they talking about these issues? Because this is almost 1 million people that they're coming from Mexico. Why are they coming from Mexico? That would be why is the government? What's happening there that people have to roll?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things
that's more sad about, like, because right now dreamers are celebrities. Like, everybody's like, oh my god, the dreamer. Like, I got a fucking award for just not having papers. You know, like, what is going to be my speech? I would like to thank this country for making me undocumented, because thanks to them, I would not be having this award. Like, what the, you know, like, I'm like, fucked up. I don't want this award. I want more social. But I think, and I went back to Mexico, and that was another dreamer craze, because over there I was like, damn, I feel like an undocumented Kardashian, because everybody wanted a picture with me. I was like, oh my god, you're a dreamer, take a picture. All the politicians wanted pictures with us. I did all kinds of fucking interviews. I was on all, you know, the newspapers in Mexico. I was like, oh, we're in a newspaper. Like, everybody wanted to know what a dreamer was like, and like, it's fucked up, because there's no, like, even if I were to get deported to Mexico, our government hasn't structured something to say welcome home. Like, we're not holding our government accountable, like, for the people that get deported. Like, you get deported and you have no access to anything. Like, you're going back to no safety net. And I think that's what our government should be doing, creating safety nets for people that return, instead of like just hugging us and be like, oh, you're so brave. Like, no, we're not brave. We're displaced people. There's nothing brave about not being recognized as people that belong somewhere. But I don't think they're doing anything, and that's sad. And, you know, Mexico's more classes, so everything's class. Like, the reason, you know, that people are migrating is because we want those billionaires to be there, but we don't distribute, like, the wealth to the middle class. And it's fucked up. At the end of the day, there's no perfect government, but at the same, we need to remind each other that we can't blame the people affected by the people that are moving. It's a government structure that's not created to benefit us. Oh, it's so political. Not get birds. No, look at me. I'm sounding like Nancy Pelosi getting interrupted yesterday.